It's time to join Montana's very own and your voice for agriculture, Talkin' Ag Lane Nordlund, for today's LaneCast.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here on the LaneCast Ag Podcast with the Western Ag Network on this Memorial Day weekend. I hope everyone is staying safe out there, and I know our farmers and ranchers busy as ever out in the countryside, but of course let's just take a few moments to think about the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that we all live in the land of the free and the home of the brave here in the United States of America. Their sacrifice is not forgotten with us here on the LaneCast or at the Western Ag Network. Well, as we take some time here today on our LaneCast podcast version, whether you're listening or watching today's report, we want to thank you for joining us. If you haven't done so yet, make sure and subscribe and share the content we're sharing here today. We're going to look at how those livestock markets shaped up across the West, looking at some of our local livestock markets, what those cattle were bringing through the ring here this week, along with a look at the latest cattle on feed report, the cash cattle market, and a little later on, we'll have a little bit of a recap on what the House Farm Bill looked like as it headed out of committee this past Friday. But first, I should mention that today's program is brought to you by our friends at HerdWatch Cattle Management Software. Download the app today to increase productivity and maximize profitability out on your operation. Visit herdwatch.com for a special offer on your first 6 months. Well, before we get to our local livestock markets today, which again, those prices remain strong, let's look to the latest cattle on feed report that came out on Friday. We see that the May 1 cattle on feed are down 1% from a year ago, totaling 11.6 million head. Placements in feedlots during April totaled 1.66 million head, 6% below last year, while marketings of fed cattle during April totaled 1.87 million head. Those figures 10% above last year's level. So these numbers are on par with report estimates from industry experts. And our friend DTN livestock analyst Shaylee Stewart writes that all in all, this report should be found to be bullish for the cattle market, as on-feed numbers are lower than a year ago. There are fewer cattle placed than a year ago, and marketings compared to a year ago were extremely aggressive. So once those futures markets open up on Tuesday of this week, hopefully we can see some strong activity on the board, but also continued support in the box beef and, of course, our cash cattle prices. And I tell you what, friends, this cash cattle market this past week was pretty impressive. We saw some moderate trade in the South develop at 187 live, which was $1 firmer than the previous week, but the North saw trade volumes on the live end at 192. But it's the dress prices we need to take note of. There in the North, the dress prices anywhere from $3 to $3.04. That firmer trade is $2 to $5 higher compared to the previous week, and depending on where the week's weighted average falls there in the northern plains, if those market averages hold at 304, that will be a new all-time high for the region. Something for us to keep an eye on as those official USDA reports come out. But again, that strong cash market will hopefully help out these markets throughout the rest of this spring and summer. Hey friends, we got some great prices to report on when it comes to our local livestock markets across Western Ag Network country. But first, this message from our friends at HerdWatch.
Less time on paperwork and more time on the things that truly drive your operation. HerdWatch allows large and small cattle producers to easily direct day-to-day management from the palm of their hand. HerdWatch simplifies record keeping and allows you to make better decisions on your ranch. Easily track calving, weaning, animal health, and access that information anytime, anywhere. Join over 21,000 producers. Visit herdwatch.com for a special offer on your first 6 months. HerdWatch, 10 years of simplifying livestock.
Again, a big thank you to our friends at HerdWatch. Truly some outstanding software. It's like having your calving book in your smartphone. I tell you what, it's been fun to work with. Go check it out today. Again, a great deal for your first 6 months, and it's all about making things more efficient and utilizing this technology that we call smartphones as well to help make us a little more profitable out in the countryside. But as promised, we're going to get to our local livestock markets. But as I've mentioned before, if you have not done so, make sure and subscribe to the Western Ag Network YouTube channel so you can get all of these updates on the LaneCast Ag Podcast along with all the content we share throughout the week. Or if you're listening to the LaneCast Ag Podcast, make sure and click subscribe to that as well. Well, let's look to some of those markets at the Miles City Livestock Commission there in Cowboy Town, USA. Miles City Livestock on May 21st. The slaughter cow pace was $94 to $147 a hundredweight, while slaughter bulls were priced at $127 all the way up to $169 a hundredweight. Wow. Stock cows there in Miles City, 2 to 4 years old, priced at $135 to $198. 5 to 8 year olds in MC bringing $145. And we look forward to seeing a lot of our friends in Miles City this coming week for the Montana Stock Growers Association's 140th mid-year meeting taking place there in Miles City. And for our friends in Wyoming at Winter Livestock Auction in Riverton, compared to the previous week's sale, slaughter cows were steady to $2 to $3 lower, while slaughter bulls were about $2 higher. Feeder cows and bulls mostly returning to feed, of course. Those slaughter cows priced at $110 to $134. The bulls, $138 to $160. Did I say slaughter cows? Slaughter cows, $110 to $134. Slaughter bulls, $138 to $169. As for stock cows going through the ring there in Riverton, 2 to 4 year olds, $128 up to $154. 5 to 8 year olds, $127 to $155.50. Down to southwest Montana, let's look at Montana Livestock Auction in Ramsay. Their sale on May 21st saw slaughter cows priced at $107 to $155 a hundredweight. Heiferettes priced nicely at $162 all the way up to $202 a hundredweight. Slaughter bulls priced $152 to $219. Billings Livestock Commission sale on May 23rd saw the cattle market and demand for feeders mostly moderate to good, despite a lighter offering going through the ring. The 5 to 5.5 weight steers, $291 to $341. 5.5 to 6 weight steers in Billings, $292 to $332. 6.5 to 7 weights, $260 all the way up to $3. 7.5 to 8 weights, $251 to $257. The slaughter cow market there in Billings, $85 up to $146. Slaughter bulls, $144 all the way up to $169. And we are starting to see more of our video sale markets pick up here this week, and a great test of 7,000 plus head was on the Western video market this past week. Current delivery feeder steers at 6.5 to 7 weight, bringing $287 up to $3.25. The 7 to 7.5 weights, $259 to $289. Current delivery 7.5 to 8 weights, $271 to $289. You can see a few more of those current delivery prices there on your screen as well. As for those heifers selling last week on the Western video market, 6 to 6.5 weights at current delivery, bringing a price average of $2.67. 7 to 7.5 weights, $233 to $259. 7.5 to 8 weights, $235 to $244. 8 to 8.5 weights, $2.36 on average. We also saw a nice run of feeder cattle with heifers selling $4 to $6 higher last week at Torrington Livestock, and a great pace for those feeder steers as well. The 4.5 to 5 weight feeders seen a price of $3.33 up to $3.45. 5 to 5.5 weights, $3.11 to $3.37, with those heavier 6.5 to 7 weights averaging $3.02. Slaughter and feeder cows traded mostly $3 to $6 higher, while slaughter bulls traded mostly steady with the previous sale. Those cows $135 to $151. Slaughter bulls priced at $154 to $172. Just over 3,500, just under 3,600 head, actually, maybe I should read my notes a little better here, at Valentine Livestock Auction, Valentine, Nebraska this past week. Feeder steers weighing 4 to 4.5, priced at $4.25 up to $4.30. 4.5 to 5 weights, $4 all the way up to $4.10. 5 to 5.5 weights, anywhere from $3.52 to $3.68. 5.5 to 6 weights, $3.21 to $3.56. Feeder heifers at that 4.5 to 5 weight range, bringing $3.50 all the way up to $3.76. 5 to 5.5 weights, $347 to $359, with the 6 to 6.5 weights, $289 to $299. Again, that was the market report there for Valentine Livestock Auction in Nebraska. Winding things up just a little bit, let's wrap up with the Junta Livestock Commission sale, Junta, Colorado, held on May 22nd. Feeder steers under 600 pounds were $2 to $8 higher, while feeder steers under 600 pounds were $10 lower. Those 4.5 to 5 weight steers, $3.30 to $3.70. 5 to 5.5 weights, $3.11. 6 to 6.5 weights, a little bit lower, they mentioned, seeing a price of $2.67 to $2.71. They also had some pairs there in La Junta, 2 to 4-year-old pairs, bringing a price of $21.75 up to $2,400. 5 to 8-year-old pairs, $2,150 up to $2,500. And finally, slaughter cows priced at $91 up to $151 a hundredweight. Bulls, $111 to $170. So again, some great prices as we move through this spring, looking towards summer and straw hat season. For you guys tuning in, do you wear a felt hat all year? Up here in Montana, of course, you go by the old saying, you wear your felt till Memorial Day, then it's straw hat season. But to be honest, these dang straw hats are getting so dang expensive. I think I'll take the chance of sweating through my my good Greeley hat out of Greeley Hat Works out of Colorado there. But that's a question. Do you guys go by that old saying, or is it just too hot or too cold too long where you live? Again, our boys in the southern part of the nation, they're going to say they wear straws all year. No criticism from our Northern Plains friends like myself here today on that. But before we wrap up today's conversation with our local livestock markets, I thought I'd throw in a report that we had on last week. It was quite the event watching a 12-plus hour session in the House Agriculture Committee where the House marked up the House version of the Farm Bill, and ultimately they did pass that, but it was close to 13 hours. Now, there was some recesses for floor votes to take place, but we also saw some animal rights activists disrupt the hearings, wanting to see an end to animal agriculture. They were protesting that the world needs to partake in lab-grown or plant-based foods. Again, that kind of delayed a little bit of those hearings, but overall, we did see quite the debate between Republicans and Democrats. A lot of emotion on both sides, but after close to 13 hours, we saw a farm bill get voted out of committee to head to the full House. Here's a little bit of a preview of what went on over those 12 hours.
When I became chairman of the House Committee on Agriculture, I took seriously my mandate to protect our food supply and enhance the impact of our nation's agricultural value chain. Across each title of this bill are new and better tools and resources for our farmers and our rural communities. From production and processing to delivery and consumption, this bill strengthens the rural economy across every region, every state, and every congressional district.
The bill would bolster commodity programs for producers by an estimated $45 billion over 10 years and increasing the statutory reference price for crops by 10 to 20%. For crop insurance, the bill expands premium payment support for beginning farmers and ranchers. But the cost of the farm safety net programs have been called into question.
The restoration of the farm safety net does come at a cost. I've spent a lot of time with the Congressional Budget Office and the Budget Committee to correct erroneous assumptions. The Budget Committee has been a terrific partner, and that work will continue to ensure that we not only do we correct those erroneous assessments, but we do so in a transparent, judicious manner that restores the farm safety net and integrity to current and future agricultural estimates.
Democrats in recent weeks have come out in strong opposition to the bill, calling it partisan politics.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are marking up a farm bill that undermines and hurts both our farmers and our American families. And here is why. First of all, this farm bill makes the largest financial cut to SNAP in 30 years. And they're doing it at a time of greatest need for this SNAP program to serve our American people.
The debate was emotional from both parties, with Republicans noting that SNAP beneficiaries will still get an inflation-related benefit increase. The GOP-led committee rejected several late-night amendments in a series of votes that went along party lines. For livestock producers, the House Farm Bill includes top priorities like cattle health, voluntary conservation, food security provisions, and an amendment that bans USDA from providing taxpayer dollars to support the research of lab-grown proteins. Ag producers have this message to Congress.
Well, we'd like to see all of Congress move forward to do the right thing for producers, stay out of the weeds with some of the radical ideas or thoughts that aren't consistent with what we've tried to accomplish, and let's work forward on this, move ahead, and make this a cooperative effort for everybody involved.
Now, again, that's a $1.5 trillion package coming out of the House Agriculture Committee. I can't even wrap my mind around $1.5 trillion. I can't even wrap my mind around what $1 million looks like. Well, maybe I can, but I can't come close to $1.5 trillion. That farm bill passed out of committee on a 33-21 vote, with 4 Democrats joining 29 Republicans to back the bill, officially making it bipartisan. But there's going to be quite a hill to climb for House lawmakers to get that version of the bill passed. A lot of compromise going to have to occur between the Senate and House versions, but of course, we don't even know what the Senate version fully looks like yet. So what will the Senate do? I should mention that Senate Ag Committee Chair Debbie Stabenow of Michigan is retiring. She's not seeking re-election this year. And, of course, sources say she would like to get a farm bill passed before she retires. So I know House Democrats are hoping for a Senate bill that can come in and maybe address some of their concerns that were not included in the House version of the farm bill. Again, a lot going to be going on, because if you don't know this, if we don't pass a farm bill, we'll have to go through the process of extending the 2018 farm bill that expired last fall, and they had to, of course, vote to extend that farm bill for 1 year. And if the Congress does not pass a farm bill or extend the 2018 Farm Bill, will revert to a farm bill passed in the late 1930s and the 1940s existing law that is continuous. So, I mean, that's laws that were definitely not on the book, that were on the books well before my dad was a twinkle in my grandpa's eyes. So, again, very, very interesting. We're going to be watching this farm bill debate, important to farmers and ranchers across the nation, and we'll continue to cover that not only here on the LaneCast Ag Podcast, but on the Western Ag Network as well. So, friends, I appreciate you joining us here today. Hopefully you enjoyed some of those local livestock markets, and throwing in a little bit of news here along the way. It's a smorgasbord show, we could call that, but I do want to encourage you, if you have not done so, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure and subscribe to the Western Ag Network YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this or watching it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever that may be, subscribe to the LaneCast Ag Podcast. I truly appreciate that. Again, this is kind of a show about nothing, kind of like the Seinfeld of Ag podcasts. Hopefully Jerry Seinfeld doesn't sue me for saying that, but we just like to throw up whatever we're talking about, spaghetti on the wall, we could say. Of course, this is all important to producers across the West, and of course, we're happy to bring you these every single day. Again, I hope everyone had a safe Memorial Day. Make sure and take time to think about all the men and women that have served this nation, and made sure we have the right to live here in the United States of America. With that, friends, that will do it for this livestock market update here on the LaneCast Ag Podcast. I'm Lane Nordlund. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the LaneCast with Talkin' Ag, Lane Nordlund. For more on Lane, check out his Facebook page, Lane Nordlund Ag Broadcaster, and NordlundCommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the LaneCast on your Apple or Android devices. We look forward to joining you next time on the LaneCast.